Well, Calgary Flames executive Brian Burke says the use of homophobic slurs in sports, or anywhere for that matter, is unacceptable. And he's making it a priority to change attitudes within his own Flames locker room. Brian joins us now in studio this morning. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me on, Cara.
Now, this is obviously an issue that we've been hearing a lot about in the news, of course. You have a very personal connection to it. Explain what that is.
Well, I had a son who came out in a very public way. He was gay, and shortly, within about 4 months after he came out and was very public in Canada, we lost him in a car accident in a winter storm. So my son Patrick and I we're determined to carry on his legacy and keep his memory alive and end homophobia in sports.
And that is all about, that is what your You Can Play project is about. And you are planning to bring those changes or change those attitudes within your own locker room. How will that roll out?
Well, I think if people understand what You Can Play is, basically You Can Play messages. We find that gay male athletes are dropping out of team sports in large part because of the homophobic nature of the dressing room. And players say, oh, you're a homo, you're a fag, that's so gay. I think most of it is highly offensive, but most of it's habitual. I don't think people are making a judgment about anyone's sexuality. We've got to change it. It's offensive. So You Can Play is to say to gay male athletes, if you can play, you can play. You belong on my team. A lot of star NHL players have been part of the project. It's going over to the other sports now. It's a wonderful message to gay young people. That being said, we've got to stop in our own dressing room. We did it with the Toronto Marlies. We started to do it with the Leafs. Say we're going to stop it in-house, in our own building. We're going to stop homophobic slurs in the dressing room, on the ice. And it's the same thing we're going to try to roll out here in the fall.
So how do you go about doing that? How do you go about changing attitudes? Because you're not just looking at the locker room, you're also looking at the fans and asking them to come on board as well.
Right, we did it. You can go online. People can go on and look. The Toronto Marlies, which is the American Hockey League team owned by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Dallas Eakins, who's the coach in Edmonton now. Dallas did a wonderful thing where they did a Marlies pledge, and actually that's the project we're going to try and get through the entire National Hockey League through You Can Play, where it says every player, every fan, every employee took a pledge that this is an atmosphere where everyone is welcome. Homophobia is not tolerated, nor is racism or any other ignorant attitudes. And it was wonderful, the way our fans embraced it, the way the players embraced it. And that's where I'd like to get the entire National Hockey League to. But that'll probably take a slow build, probably a couple of years for us to get to that point.
So you feel that there is some progress, I guess specifically in professional sports? Massive.
Michael Sam was just drafted in the NFL. We had an Olympic athlete in Calgary came out recently, Loser, I believe. And you've got, we had a rugby player came out. We've got a basketball NBA player came out. We know we have gay players in the National Hockey League, just one that hasn't felt comfortable coming out yet. So that day will come, and I think that athlete will get a much warmer reception than he probably thinks he will right now. I think attitudes have changed wonderfully in favor of the LGBTQ community, but we got a lot of work to do yet.
And we have guys like Johnny Cornish on the Stampeders, whose mom is gay, and really speaking out for that. How important is it to have leaders like that already in professional sports?
I think it's important, but I think if you look at the fate or the life of a gay male in Calgary, or in my son's case in Ohio where he's going to college, obviously the lot of the gay man has improved dramatically in the last 20 years, but it hasn't kept pace with other minority groups and the progress they've made. So I'm encouraged by the progress we've made. These are not doors that get kicked in. They're walls that crumble over time. Ignorance, bias, fear, these are things that take time to knock down. But I think the young generation, I think it's my generation we have to educate and worry about. I think the young people get it. So we're getting there. It's a lot better place. If you're LGBTQ, you're in a much better world than you were, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much for coming in and talking about this, Brian.
Thank you for having me on.
Quickly, your prediction for the final?
Oh, I think you can stick a fork in them now after last night.
Thank you so much, Brian. You can log on to youcanplayproject.org to find out more about that program.